What's the latest Netflix series? Can't remember anymore. Let me go back to Google and find out what's the latest Netflix series. These advertisements of car often bother me. I don't need to have a car right now. Even if I take a car, I will take a car of Tesla. That will not require me to have a driver. The car is basically driverless, and I dream to have a car of Tesla. And the day I will have a car of Tesla, I will definitely go to Starbucks to have a beautiful evening, to celebrate the occasion of having a Tesla car, right? Must be wondering, why am I talking about these things. These are all well-known brands. These are all well-known brands that belong to our day-to-day lives. We are all the consumers of these brands. Why not own any of these brands? Till now we have been spending money, our monthly salary, a substantial portion of our monthly salary is being spent on these products, on these things. But why not take a ownership of these companies on which we usually spend a lot of money? And to my channel for the first time, do subscribe to my channel and if you like the content of the video, press the like button, and don't forget to share the video with your friends. And let us come back once again to the discussions of what the US stock market is all about. In today's discussion, we will have a discussion on what the US stock market is all about. And secondly, we will try to figure out how we can actually invest in stock market of USA. And thirdly, we will try to find out whether we should really invest in US stock market, because we are investing actually in Indian stock market. So do I really need to have an investment separately for an US based stocks? Most of us unanimously believe that US economy is the world's strongest economy. And the factor that always comes to our mind, that should we not be investing in the world's strongest economy? We belong to a country which is basically considered as a growing economy, as an emerging market, right? So we do have a significant investment in our emerging market. So should I really be investing in an economy which is already developed and thereby may not give me the kind of return that I may expect from my own Indian market, right? So what is very interesting to note is that before we go further into the discussion, into the details of how US markets actually operates on the realistic terms, I would just like to make a comparison between how the Indian market actually works and how it differs operationally from the US stock market. And what is very interesting to note is that Indian stock market is being controlled by two exchanges. Indian stock market is being controlled by two exchanges. One is called the Bombay Stock Exchange, and the other one is the National Stock Exchange. On the other hand, US market is being controlled, is being operated by two exchanges. One is called NYSE, and the other one is basically NASDAQ exchange, right? So what we can find out over here, that both the markets have a system of its own. And if we talk about the time schedule, Indian market starts at 9:15 in the morning, and the trade goes on till 3:30 in the afternoon. And on the other hand, the USA market starts at 9:30 in the morning, and the trade extends till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So this is how the time is crucial, because there is some sort of significant difference in the time schedule of these two markets. Now if we come back to the exchange, the indices that actually operate in US markets. In Indian market, we have two indices. One is called the Sensex. And this is the index which is being controlled by BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange. This is the Sensex is the index. And on the other hand, we have another much more famous index, than that's called the Nifty 50, right? So Nifty is being controlled by National Stock Exchange, or that is NSE, Right. Similarly, in USA, we do have three major, indexes, right? So indices actually, and the first major one is called the Dow Jones. The first one is the Dow Jones, and the second one is S&P 500, and the third one is Nasdaq. Nasdaq itself is an index, and it is also an exchange as well, right? So fourth one, there's a very popular emerging index that operates in US market, and that is the fourth one is called the Russell 200. This is actually an index based on the small cap stocks. So what we get to find is that US, on in terms of find is that there are two exchanges. There are two exchanges in USA. The first one is called the NYSC. NYSC is basically it is the oldest exchange of USA, and it has been founded in 1790. Right, so it has been founded in, say, it had been founded in 1790, and till 2007, actually till April 2007, it has traded as a New York Stock Exchange. Right after April 2007, New York Stock Exchange has merged with an Euronext, that is basically a kind of European exchange, and it has merged with a Euronext exchange, and since then it has been termed as NYSC. And this is what we get to find in NYSC. NYSC is basically an index which has companies like the best blue chip companies are listed in NYSC, and most importantly, we have the companies that belong to the industrial sector. So we have the companies from blue chips and industrials being listed in NYSC. Right, so we have very, very prominent companies like Alibaba Group Holdings, and then we have Berkshire Hathaway, we have JP Morgan, we have Visa, we have Johnson and Johnson, we have Walmart, companies like Bank of America Corporation, companies like Procter and Gamble company, companies like MasterCard. Right, so we have companies like ExxonMobil, right, Taiwan Semiconductor Company Limited, and that's a very interesting company, Taiwan Semiconductor Company Limited. And then we have AT&T. Right, so we have a lot of companies, and these are some of the prominent names that are being listed on this particular exchange called NYSC. On the other hand, if we talk about Nasdaq is basically a kind of index which deals with the technology sector, which deals with the cutting edge technology. And most importantly, we will find out that Nasdaq occupies companies which are much more prone towards biotechnology, towards software development, towards cloud computing, and the other recent trending areas of technology which can actually cater to the global demands. Right, so we in Nasdaq, we have some of the greatest brands of the world like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, Tesla, Facebook, Nvidia, PayPal Holdings. Right, so Netflix, then we have Intel as well. So Nasdaq has some of the greatest names of this era. And what is very interesting to note is that in NYSC, we don't have Apple being listed in NYSC. We don't have Intel being listed in NYSC, because these are not companies which are from industrial. These are companies which are related to the technological area. So these are tech related companies. So that is exactly the reason why these companies are listed in Nasdaq. And Nasdaq is recently launched index. It has started in 1971. Right, so Nasdaq has started in 1971, and it's a very, very popular index, because the entire trading happens on a online platform. There is no physical floor for Nasdaq. There is no physical floor for trading in Nasdaq, and Nasdaq has the entire system being operated as a what do you call it, an online system. So that is exactly the reason why Nasdaq has become suddenly so popular. And there is another interesting factor that I would like to mention, and Nasdaq is basically an exchange. Nasdaq is an exchange, but there is another index that is also named as Nasdaq, right? So Nasdaq is an exchange, at the same time it's an index as well, right? So what we get to find is that apart from Nasdaq, American stock market has more than 5,000 indexes, right? So these are it will not be feasible and judicious for us to go into all those indexes, and that is not even practically possible. So what we will try to do is that we will try to concentrate mostly on the major indexes that are being followed and tracked by investors and the traders, right? The first major index that we will find that we will have in America, that is called S&P 500 index, and this is basically an index with the top 500 companies listed in US stock markets, right? So this index is primarily chosen by market capitalization, right? So but the constituent committee also considers other factors, including liquidity, public float of the stocks, and social classification, sector classification, and the financial viability, trading history of the company. So there are other many factors that go into the consideration before a company is being taken up for in the portfolio of S&P 500. So this is basically a portfolio of stocks which holds the first top 500 companies of US stock markets, right? Then we have another index that is called the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And Dow Jones Industrial Average, it is the oldest, remember, it is the oldest and most well known and frequently used indexes in the world. It is the oldest index probably, and it includes the 30 largest influential companies of United States, right? So in S&P 500 we have got the top 500 companies of USA, and in Dow Jones you have basically 30 companies that of USA, right? So what we get to find is that Nasdaq, as we have already talked about Nasdaq is basically an index which has got more than 2,000 companies are listed in Nasdaq, and the companies actually belong to the technological sector. The companies which actually belong to the cutting edge technology are listed in Nasdaq. All of them are listed in Nasdaq, and the fourth one, that's a very emerging index in USA, that's called the Russell 200. And this Russell 200 is something which is similar to our small cap Nifty small cap index, right? So this is basically a collection of stocks which belong to the small cap field, right? So many of the investors try to track the performance of Russell 200 for the evaluation, or for the evaluation of how the performance of a particular small cap is being done, right? So Russell 200 basically becomes a kind of what you call a determinant factor for judging the performance of a certain small cap stocks, right? So this is what we can find out in most of these indexes of USA. And now if I come back to India, we will find out we basically have got two indexes. One is a Sensex and the other one is basically, as I have told you, it's a Nifty 50. And two of these indexes, Sensex procures basically a collection of 30 companies. Sensex is a collection of 30 companies, and Nifty has got a collection of 50 companies, right? So basically virtually the first companies, the first initial 10-20 companies are basically the same. It's the same for Sensex and Nifty. So it is the same Reliance Industries, same TCA, same HDFC Bank. So if you take it Sensex, if you invest in Sensex, if you take an index fund of Sensex, or if you invest in Sensex, and if someone invests in Nifty, the returns are likely to be the same, almost same, even though there are minor differences. That is absolutely negligible, but the returns are basically the same if you invest in either of these indexes in India, right? So now